Hello, Andrew here again, and in this video I'll be giving you a few points to consider when choosing a wedge. Now your wedges are used to hit the ball higher, not longer, and are very handy for those delicate little shots around the green and out of bunkers. When we talk about wedges, we generally talk about two terms, bounce and loft. When we say bounce, we're referring to the angle formed by the leading edge of the club face and the ground. This tiny angle can range from 0 degrees up to 16 degrees depending on the loft of the wedge. It's a pretty crazy concept, I know, but the more bounce a club has, the more the club head will bounce off the ground without digging in. A high degree of bounce can be particularly handy if you tend to hit a lot of fat shots with big divots and when you are playing off soft turf or sand. The club head will be more likely to bounce off the ground rather than dig into it. A low degree of bounce would be best for you if you tend to hit your chip shot skinny with little or no divot and when you're playing off firm and tightly mown turf. In this case, you don't want the leading edge of the club bouncing hard off the ground and halfway up the back of the ball, because that never ends well for you, your ball, or the unsuspecting playing partners on the other side of the green. The second term I mentioned was loft. Now when we say loft, we're referring to the amount of angle on the club face. The more angle or loft on a club, the higher the ball will go and the shorter the distance it will carry. Your wedges will be the highest lofted clubs in your bag, having a loft angle between 60 degrees versus a 3-iron which usually has about 24 degrees of loft. Now let's have a quick look at the different types of wedges which are based on their loft angle. The highest loft wedge is a lob wedge. The angle on a lob wedge is going to be 58 degrees or above. The wedge is for the touch shots around the green that need to get up in the air quickly and land softly. Bounce usually varies between 0 to 10 degrees. Next is a sand wedge. The club typically has 54 to 57 degrees of loft, and despite the name sand wedge, they do not have to be exclusively used out of bunkers. They do have the most unique club head of the bunch with lots of bounce between 10 to 16 degrees, which reduces the risk of digging into the sand on those dreaded bunker shots. Then comes the gap wedge, which can also sometimes be called the approach wedge. This club typically has 49 to 54 degrees of loft and anywhere from 5 to 12 degrees of bounce. Finally, there's a pitching wedge, which has 45 to 49 degrees of loft and a minimal bounce of 2 to 5 degrees. Now working out the exact loft you should be choosing for each of these wedges, we'll begin by looking at the loft of your pitching wedge. Nearly all sets of irons include a pitching wedge, so you'll probably already have one of these. From there, add increments of between 4 to 6 degrees to work out the loft you need for your gap wedge, sand wedge and lob wedge. This will ensure you have a distant gap of 10 to 15 yards and metres between clubs. From a cost point of view, beginners could probably get away with just a pitching and a sand wedge and then look to add the gap and the lob wedge as they move to intermediate or advanced skill levels. Other factors to consider are the feel and spin control of the wedge. Here at Andrew's Guide, we're all about making life easy for you and have summarised your user and editorial reviews on each product page, which will give you some insight into how each wedge performs in each of these areas. Finally, many wedges come in a variety of finishes in your traditional chrome colour. They're purely for aesthetic reasons and therefore it comes down to personal preference. So pick what looks good on you. So there you have it. I hope this has helped and thanks for watching.